Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wisconsin Icons. I'm Bob Dolan. It's good to have you with me. Wisconsin Icons brought to you by my title sponsor, Pasternak and Zergavell, award-winning injury attorneys, and you can find their help at www.injurywisconsin.com. You know, not every guest on Wisconsin Icons is going to be a familiar name, a household name. There are so many men and women in Wisconsin who have done impressive and impactful things, and yet they kind of fly under the radar. And not too many people know their story or even what they achieved. And my guest today is one of those people. First of all, full disclosure, my guest, his name is Clayborn Benson. My guest and I go way back to almost, it seems like a different lifetime. 30, 35 years or so when we both worked at the same time at the same place at WTMJ Television in Milwaukee. Since those days, he's gone on and done some wonderful things. His name is Clayborn Benson, and he is the founding director of the Wisconsin Black History Museum and Society located in downtown Milwaukee. And it's impacted a lot of lives, and it's educated all of us. Without him, this would never have occurred. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you as well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's really nice to see you after all these years. You're not aging much at all, and I am.
I am. I am aging very much so. So
I give you kudos, Clay. I mean, what you've achieved, and I know you've had a lot of help along the way, but what you dreamed of first and then made happen is a great thing. Tell us a little bit about the museum.
So we're located on 27th and Center. We have been in existence for 36 years now. My daughter has joined us as part of our staff. We have about 4 to 5 people and a host of volunteers at the museum. And we focus primarily on Wisconsin's African American history. That doesn't mean we extend ourselves. We do extend ourselves in wide areas throughout the United States, and more specifically African. We see ourselves as an African people living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Well, every project like this first starts with an idea.
It did.
You know, before a shovel goes in the ground, somebody has to think that there's a need for this, and that person was you. Yes. How long had you been thinking about the museum, and what was there an impetus? Was there something that happened that convinced you to try to make this happen?
So while as an employee at WTMJ Television, I went back to school for my undergrad in film. So that's what I was doing while working at TMJ. You know, while we were doing sports,
yeah,
I worked. We did stuff on the weekends, like the Badger game, the Packer game, the Bucks games, and those were weekend kind of events during the day, during the week. I was at school at UWM in the film program. And so, but the emphasis clearly is my final project about the history of African Americans in the state of Wisconsin. I was the first and only student to write a grant to the National Endowments, and I got $87,000 to produce a film about the history of African Americans in the state of Wisconsin. And it was called Black Communities. The station aired it a couple of times. The city of Milwaukee aired it 100 times. So that was really the driving force that started all this. But clearly, you know, once we ended my sports career at TMJ because of the union, I started doing Black History programming and activities, doing Black History Month. People would send news releases in, and I would be asked to do that. Juneteenth Day, a whole host of things that I did as a WTMJ employee that really sparked that, put fuel to that fire and interest of preserving Wisconsin's African American history.
So you're telling me, Clayborn, that while you and I were working sports together on weekends, your mind was actually somewhere else.
Some of the times I would say so, yes. I was just very interested in history, African American history, and so that was a driving force that kept me going. And so yes, I did.
What comes first? Finding the funding or potential funding, finding the location? I mean, where do you start?
I don't think about funding, although you do need to do that. I mean, clearly we function with so little money, but
Yeah.
we don't let money be a factor in determining whether or not we're going to really seriously do history. I mean, um, I don't know any institutions, and we have 3 buildings, and a staff can survive on $85,000, and
Yeah.
yet we have for many years. I pinch pennies because the institution is more important than whether or not we have the funding. We have to convince people to invest into preserving their history and having some say about their history. And it starts all the way from people wanting to know their own genealogy to knowing the accomplishments of their fathers or great grandparents or their next door neighbor. That history is very important. You do it through artifacts, you do it through people's written narratives or stories. You do it through just engaging with people and telling the story of the state, but then having them to see themselves in it, like migration here, in the drive to be a good to get a good education so that you can ensure that your kids get a good education. All of those things. And I'm sorry, and when we look at the footprint of the state of Wisconsin, it has a significant wide print. I mean, obviously, most people think that Black history don't exist in the state of Wisconsin, but we're the first state to defy the fugitive slave law. That's a constitutional law. That's a major law in the state of Wisconsin. It says bunk on the federal government and the Constitution. We're going to press ahead. They do that in the case of Joshua Glover. The issue of educating our children with Brown versus the Board of Education. They're cheating on Brown. The Constitution, the Supreme Court made this decision, and they make a decision to cheat on Brown. And so it's Milwaukee's Lloyd Bobby who challenged the United States Supreme Court that indeed African-American kids have a right to get a decent education, and the states are not obeying the state's constitution. That's Milwaukee. Fair housing movement. We have all heard of Father James Groppe and the fair housing movement. It's not a law that comes to us by someone written it in Milwaukee. It's a Walter Mondale out of Minnesota, but it's Father James Groppe who is invited to Washington to put fire to the congressman to pass it in 1968, April of 1968. So we have a lot to be proud of here in Wisconsin. I'm not going to say that segregation still don't exist, because that would be a lie, but I can say that the people in Wisconsin are meaningful in terms of making those changes and fighting for their rights to be equal citizens in this country.
Clayborn, you said 30 some odd years you've been up and running?
36.
I wonder if you continue to uncover examples and stories
every day.
Yes.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Every day I learn
so
something.
People are calling you, they're telling, hey, go check this out, go look up this person's story. So the stories are out there, never ending.
Every day there's something new. We're doing a story right now that if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would not have been able to tell you about Black Cross nurses, So we endure a whole host of various internal diseases, tuberculosis, consumption, smallpox, and then COVID. COVID is what we've just gone through. All of these diseases that this country has gone through, it's like the wind blows it through and we catch these and people have died. We're currently doing a story about how a group of African-American nurses, or not nurses, but regular citizens who then go back to school and become nurses and make it their business to do for self. When white doctors and nurses are reluctant to go into people's homes, Black Cross nurses do. And they don't just treat people for their illness. They wash the dishes, take care of the children, give birth to those women, all a host of things to make life conducive for treating this illness.
Does Wisconsin, Clayborn, this is a real high pedestal, so I apologize for asking, does Wisconsin have a Rosa Parks type of figure?
Yeah, but we may disagree on who that is, but yes, it
Mhm.
does. And that would be Miss Bernice Lindsay.
Aha.
That would be a Rosa Parks to me, a little short, dark-skinned woman who makes a huge impact on this community. Lindsay Heights Housing Project is named in her honor. A street on 9th and North Avenue is named in her honor. And it's the first street to be named in honor of an African-American person in the city of Milwaukee, Miss Bernice Lindsay. She takes a delegation of people to the Congo to meet the president of the Congo. She's invited to the White House to meet President Kennedy to talk about issues related to African-American women. She does so much in her lifetime. She creates the Inner City Arts Council. She creates the community, the Creative Center in her. Now they're not in existence today because of funding, but nonetheless, this woman is a tower P over other folks.
Who are some of the other people, Clayborn, especially in the early days, that assisted you with making this a reality?
Well, Lloyd Bobby was a big assistance to me. He donated a lot of his materials. My father, and he's important not because he was around, but because he gave me the idea of, as he talks about Black history to me over the course of the years. My father, and he's my adopted father, continued to stress how important our history was. And so I rise to being and it's a learned process. I know I'm venturing from your process and from your question, but it's a learned process. I mean, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would not have been able to uh, to um, achieve this because I didn't know the material. So I'm graduating from high school with a U as a student and go back to school because of this burning desire to be a historian, graduate from UWM as an honor student, and then go on and now I'm in my last semester at UWM as a as a graduate student in history. I'm in school right now, and I'm an old man, uh, but but honestly, the drive for wanting to learn this history comes from
Yeah.
this coming gives me the strength to be in school, to read papers and books, and to continue to learn. I mean, that's so crucial. I can't tell you that I'm this learned scholar that automatically knew all of this
Yeah,
information.
yeah.
Nobody knows it, but the drive to continue to read books, to do research, to make telephone calls, to ask questions is burning in my belly every day.
Well, I remember way back in our day, Clayborn, that you always had that quest to try to find out other things.
Yes.
Status quo was never in your dictionary.
Well, boy, thank you. That's quite an honor. I'm not sure that that's true, but thank you.
Do you sometimes, looking back, so 36, 37 years, and you're still learning every darn day? Do you sometimes,
Oh, I
Clayborn,
do. Yeah, I do.
do you
Sometimes.
sometimes pinch yourself or pat yourself on the back and say, I did it, well done?
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
mean, I did
yeah.
it this Sunday when the church asked for those graduates or students that are going back to school. I did it. I did it even when I'm constantly being tested in school. Do you actually know this material and test it? Yeah, I do. I mean, and the challenges. I mean, I can tell. I mean, I don't want to tell you all of the stuff simply because I'm in the midst of it right now. But I assure you, I'm tested all the time about whether or not I should be doing this because of my age and or am I qualified to do this? And it's okay because uh, I feel really confident about what it is I do. It's been in my blood my entire life.
Tell us a bit more about where, if anyone is interested in visiting the museum, or just find, the website? Tell us how to do that.
Or making donations. We get donations
go.
from people from all ranges. I mean, we get we get people. I've got just recently a lady donated some handcuffs that her family has had in her family for nearly 300, well, not 3 generations. Her great grandfather handcuffs that enslaved people, part of the Underground Railroad that makes its way through the state of Wisconsin. So yes, and we're located on 27th and Center, and we have a parking lot in the back of the museum. We do tours during the week and then also on Saturday mornings. So if people are interested in coming to the museum and learning about history.
I tip my hat to you, Clayborn.
Well, thank you, sir.
Clayborn,
How's your brother? I haven't.
oh, he's great. He's doing quite well.
Yeah, I know he wouldn't remember me, but please give him my best if you would.
Everybody remembers you, Clayborn.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
I'm not sure that's a good thing, but everybody remembers Clayborn. Clayborn is the founding director of the Wisconsin Black History Society and Museum located in Milwaukee. And Clayborn, in my book at least, you're a Wisconsin icon. And I appreciate your achievement and your accomplishments and your contributions to society. And thanks so much for the visit today. You take care.
You too. Thank you.